What is up, everyone? My name will be Josh, and today we are going to be talking about Relapse. So it's been about 6 months since I've actually made a video, and I figured I should actually probably start making content on this channel again, and we should probably just start with what actually happened. So I was clean for about 3 months, from basically November until around March or April, and right around then I started smoking weed again. I couldn't miss 42020, like that right there was the biggest 420, the biggest event that I felt like I couldn't miss. And honestly, I was dealing with a lot of personal shit at the time that kind of affected me and got all in my head, and I basically just stopped working my recovery program and unfortunately relapsed in about April. So my relapse actually started with a 5 milligram weed gummy. I got fucked up off that small little gummy because I hadn't consumed THC in like 4 months. So I took the weed gummy, and I basically, about a week later, was dabbing about a gram of concentrate a day. So I basically fell right back into my cannabis use pattern and was just like smoking weed like a fucking madman. I was dabbing a gram or two a day pretty consistently for about 3 months before I actually relapsed on alcohol again. And the relapse with alcohol was especially stupid. I was watching Twitch, watching a fuck ton of streams, and I just continually got this fucking Bud Light seltzer ad that was played over and over and over again. And that stupid little voice in the back of my head was like, "You loved White Claw. Do you know what you'll also probably like? Bud Light seltzer. It's fucking awful." The strawberry one's not bad, actually. I'm gonna be honest on that. The rest of them are fucking terrible. White Claw definitely takes that prize. But the first day, I went out and bought a 12-pack of Bud Light, drank the entire 12-pack that night. The second day, I went out and bought a 12-pack, the same 12-pack of Bud Light, with a couple of airplane bottles of vodka. The third day, I finished all that night. Third day, I went out and bought a pack of Bud Light seltzer and a pint of vodka. And within 4 days of me actually consuming alcohol, I was directly back out to buy a half gallon of Tito's. So my use with alcohol especially escalates insanely quickly, and I hate saying this as someone who is still a cannabis advocate. I still love the plant, but for people that suffer from alcoholism or addiction issues, weed is a gateway drug, period. It just normalized for me personally the daily use of a substance, and as someone who does struggle with bipolar, with addiction issues, with alcoholism, when I put a substance into my mind daily, consistently, that's psychoactive and mind-altering, it normalizes that feeling for me. I wasn't used to being sober. I stopped working my program. I stopped actually trying to live, sober. And honestly, I got really lazy. That's why there was no content for fucking months. The first couple months I kind of just took off for me. I was actually trying to work a program and consistently, get better. But the last few months I was like very sporadically Twitch streaming. I'd stream Tarkov here and there. But for the most part, I was just fucking sitting in my room doing nothing. So as someone that struggles with addiction issues, the normalization of a substance in my body daily isn't good for me. All the roads for me personally lead back to alcohol. So with weed, unfortunately, I know not everyone's going to love hearing this, but I'm not going to be smoking anymore. I've made the decision for me personally that I just can't really smoke. I love the plant. I'll still be a cannabis advocate. I'm still going to legally be on your side, still going to be advocating, trying to work with, states and stuff to advocate for rights. But I'm also going to kind of talk about and show over the next few months the realities of people that struggle with addiction issues or alcoholism or bipolar that consume cannabis. I'm bipolar 2. That's what I've been diagnosed as. So I have manic episodes, I have depressive episodes when I'm using substance. When I'm on medication and when I'm sober, I'm very stable. I'm happy. I'm Josh. I'm the Josh that most of you know. But unfortunately, when I was consuming alcohol at the rate that I was, when I was smoking weed all the time, I was taking Adderall, I just wasn't a good person. I was hurting people around me, and I didn't like the person that I personally was. So the sober path for me, I'm not one of those straight edge kids that's going to get all the fucking straight edge tattoos. But I am going to be living a sober life. As for me personally, I'm more productive, I'm happier, I can actually improve myself and work on myself, which I feel like is something I haven't done in years. And I'm just a happier, better person. Like I said, my addiction really hurt a lot of fucking people around me. My ex-girlfriend at the time, I was just a terrible person to her. I lied, I cheated, I stole. It's like everything I did in that state as a unmedicated bipolar with addiction and alcoholism issues, I feel like fucking shit about. Like, I absolutely loved her, and my addiction, my alcoholism, all these things made me into someone who hurt her. And there has been like things that have been posted online. Some of the accusations are just fucking insane. But I accept the fact that I was emotionally manipulative. I was mentally abusive. I never laid a hand on her, but I just was not a person that was ready to even be in a relationship, let alone a long-term relationship. So that's basically why I've taken time to stop consuming substances and kind of reevaluate the person that I am, as I don't want in the rest of my life to hurt anyone. I don't want to hurt my family like I did. I want to stop fucking hurting people. I want to be the person that I know I am, which is not, an unmedicated bipolar that's just causing manic chaos constantly. So I'm much more stabilized on my meds at this point. I feel a lot better, and I'm consistently actually working a recovery/sobriety program. I'm living in a sober house, so I'm surrounded by people that, support me, are also on the same path, and I absolutely love it. It's a huge change for me, and a large part of this was kind of humbling myself because I had ego issues. I had a lot of grandiose thoughts and issues with the whole bipolar thing that I had to kind of figure out how to control. So this is the situation that I put myself in: constant recovery, and for me, sobriety. So I'm not judging any of you guys for smoking weed. I'm not judging my audience for anything. I'm just saying, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, there's probably room for change. And my view on cannabis has not changed. It's not like I look at weed and I'm like, fuck that plant, it ruins everything, it's a terrible drug. I realized that a lot of my consumption of cannabis and the negative effects that I had were hereditary. They had to do with my alcoholism, they had to do with my, mental issues. And for me personally, constant, consistent overconsumption of cannabis was normalized and something that I used as an excuse, as it was my job. Like, I smoke fucking weed on the internet. That's what I do, that's what I'm good at, so why not just overconsume constantly? And it was not conducive to a productive, happy life for me. So there's some changes that I've been making, and I still probably will do like reviews on products. I'm just personally not going to be using them. I can still take a vape and take it apart and fucking tell you all about it because I've spent the last 5 years learning about this industry, learning about cannabis, and I love it. But my content will be shifting focus to more recovery content, as I feel like you guys as an audience have kind of aged with me. So what I mean by that is, like, I feel like a lot of you started watching me at 16, 14 even, maybe 18, about the age that I was when I started creating content. And I feel like we've grown together, and a lot of the times, once you've been adolescently smoking weed for years, there's room for change. There's room to either reevaluate your use, or I've seen a lot of people that I've been talking about this on Twitter and Instagram with that have stopped their use entirely, or want to stop their use entirely. So a lot of my content, other than podcasts, other than talking to people, I still probably want to interview some of my friends in the industry. They all still have relevant, pertinent information that I like to hear. But it's going to be shifting a little bit and changing. I mostly just wanted to get back in front of a camera. I haven't done this in fucking forever. It's been 6 months. And for me, when I started my YouTube channel, it was to satisfy my creative urges. It made me happy. Whereas towards the end of my use, when my depression kicked in, I was borderline suicidal at a lot of times. And I just wasn't happy doing what I did, even though I had a fucking awesome career that a lot of people were jealous of. I wasn't happy doing it. I wasn't getting projects done. I was really fucking lazy. And with bipolar, a lot of the times as a male, it develops in your, early to late 20s. And that's kind of what happened to me. I was pretty normal for years. I wasn't having any manic or depressive episodes. And then as I started drinking heavily, it was just like a flip switched in my brain. A switch flipped? I always get that wrong. A flip switched? A switch flipped in my brain. And I was just not productive or a good person, the happy person that a lot of you knew. And the weird thing about YouTubers is, like, no matter who you are, when you turn this camera on, you have a persona. You have either an amplified version of yourself or a slightly better version of yourself, like you do on any social media. It's just like when you go on Instagram and all the pictures are filtered. A lot of YouTubers are really good at filtering themselves when they turn this camera on. And I feel like a lot of people were like, but you seem so happy, you seem so good. It's always been easy for me to hit that camera and put a smile on my face for 20 minutes if I have to. Whereas I feel like a lot of this content is kind of a lot more real, relatable, and you're actually seeing me for me, not me as this dude who just promotes positive vibes and isn't happy inside. Like, I would preach all this positive vibe, all this, happy nonsense, and then I wouldn't listen to it myself. That's the reality of that situation. So I love YouTube. I love making videos. I love connecting with you guys, and as I'm going through changes, I just want you guys to toss the idea around in your head if you can also go through changes. Am I sitting here being like, don't smoke weed? Never. I'm never going to be judgmental in that sense. That being said, but people with addiction issues or people with alcoholism addiction that runs in your family, look at the way you smoke weed. Is it maintenance smoking? Are you just smoking to feel normal? Or is it an occasional thing that's bettering your life? That's always something I've preached, is let cannabis, if you're going to consume it, be something that betters your life. Not some kind of maintenance routine, not something that you're just spending shit tons of money on and finding yourself still depressed, anxious, and unhappy. So it's a huge change for me. It's a huge shift, but it's something I really needed in my life. I'm super fucking happy to actually be walking down a new path. This is definitely the recovery path, not something that's going to make me as much money or anything like that as the cannabis industry. But for me personally, one of the big parts of AA is spreading and getting, it's helping other people that are suffering. So this is almost a form of like service work for me. I feel like I'm helping you guys because you guys once helped me. So now that I'm in a better place, it's my turn to kind of help you in some ways. If that's just providing you good content, awesome. If you're reevaluating your use, I'm here to talk about that. I've always read the comments. I know once the comment section got to like 200 or 300 a video, I wasn't individually replying to everything like I used to. And honestly, I was not interacting with you guys like I should have. I feel like a lot of the times when you guys would tweet at me or leave like Instagram comments, I would read them and just kind of move forward. So I'm also going to work a lot on actually interacting with you guys more. I've been getting back to a lot of Instagram messages lately, so if you want to talk about your, use, hit me on Instagram. I am like 50 to 60% positive I will actually be able to reply to most of those. That's at strain_central. I know with everything that's going on in the world right now, like a lot of people are kind of relying on their weed to get their mental health through this shit show of a COVID pandemic in the United States, even the rest of the world at that, even though most of the world isn't struggling like the US is. But if you're just sitting inside all day and isolating and doing nothing but smoking weed, it might not be the best thing for your mental health, no matter who you are. So if you're using cannabis to better your mental health, that's awesome. But if you're experiencing severe depression, severe anxiety, any mental related issue while consistently consuming cannabis, that's also something you might need to look at, because I think weed's good for depression for some people, great for anxiety for some people, but depending on what you're smoking and how your brain works, it might not be. It might be worsening both of those things. Cannabis is a wonderful medicine for a lot of people, but that's like the 90%. There's also a 10% reality that it might not be helping some people. And if we want the plant accepted from society, it's just like any other drug. We have to call a spade a spade. We have to call cannabis a drug. I've preached this for years, because the acceptance from actual society that doesn't consume cannabis is not going to come from us telling them it cures cancer. It's this miracle thing that everyone should fucking have in their life. The reality is it works for some of us, and that's awesome. It doesn't work for some of us, and that's also okay and awesome. And if we want acceptance, that's how we have to push this forward. Just like you take medication, some people take anxiety medications that make their anxiety worse. For some people, that anxiety medication is what works for them. So what the cannabis industry needs to work on is not being like, fuck big pharma, man. I understand where you're coming from, but that being said, there's some people that do actually need mental health meds to stabilize them and make them a better life, make them a better person. So I say that especially from personal experience. I am much happier at this point being on mood stabilizers, being at the place that I am, and actually living every day like I once did. Because when I was in the grips of alcoholism and addiction and an unmedicated bipolar, I felt like I had no options. There was no way out. And that's why the reality of things like suicide come up, because you feel like you're just worthless. You feel like there's no place for you. You feel like a burden. And it fucking sucks to be in that place. And you're just consistently consuming substances that are making you worse and are hijacking your neural pathways, hijacking your prefrontal cortex, and essentially making decisions for you. So, I don't know. This was just a rant and a ramble. It's probably about a 15-minute video at this point, so I'm probably going to wrap it up. It's been a while since I've actually talked to a camera, and I forgot how fucking weird this is. Just sitting in your room talking to an inanimate object that's actually people. Like, you're in there. I know you are. But yeah, I hope this actually helps someone. I hope this wasn't just a waste of 15 minutes. I am going to actually come out with some new content over the next few weeks. I have a couple of video ideas actually planned, and I'm probably going to get my podcast back on Spotify. So for those that actually want to listen to open opinions, that will also be up over the next few weeks. I love you guys, though. I just, like I said, wanted to sit down for my own sake and ramble for a little bit. A lot of you have been asking for videos on Twitter and Instagram and stuff, so I'll make sure to put the links here to those. But I love y'all. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And stay positive, stay medicated. Peace.